Oh, hey, how's it going? It's been a little while since the last one. Framing a couple more pictures. Yeah, we still have to get them on the wall, but we're gonna try something new. Little combo video. She's gonna frame and do the unexplained mystery thing over the top of that. So, you know, either pay attention to her framing or pay attention to what she's saying or try and pay attention to everything, but that's really difficult when you have ADD and you've gone off your meds. So anyway, good luck with that.
Well, hello everybody. It is Saturday, February 20th and more framing. I'm cranking through all those frames I got from the secondhand store. I did do, let's see, did I do one or two without you? I think I just did one. I'll show you that. Yeah, just one. I did frame cherry blossoms. And for that one, I had a double matted frame with a poster in it. I took the mats out, peeled the two mats apart because the painting was bigger than the opening in the mats. I used the outside mat, the bigger one, and my mat cutter, cut the mat to fit, and painted the mat black because it was like a filthy beige from, you know, the 1980s. But I think it looks very nice. Now, of course, you know, we got all this reflection, but, oops. And I left the gold frame just as is. This wall, I guess, you know, we're going to allow the gold frames. Most of mine I just keep with black frames. But anyway, I've got these two to frame now, and these couple more secondhand store frames, double matted with a beveled molding around it. But my two paintings, much bigger than that. So we're just going to scrap that whole mat that's inside. And this painting here, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paint the canvas because it's such a close fit. I think it'll be fine. If needed, I might paint the back side of the cardboard or whatever on this to fill in any tiny little gap because of the scalloped edge. So that's the plan for that one. That one, the painting is pretty darn close width-wise. And height-wise, I'm going to trim a little bit off of the canvas. And I think I might end up covering maybe one row of diamonds on that one. So I'm going to just do that. And Lily's going to help me, as usual. And Jasmine, where's Jasmine? Jasmine had another bath. Jasmine! She's hiding, but she's getting very long. It's about time to shave her down because it's going to start getting hot here. There she is. Okay. Let's see you with your beautiful long hair. Oh, you look so nice, honey. Come here. Come here. Show off your haircut. Well, you don't have a haircut. Yeah, she's getting quite long. Okay. So it's about time to trim her down. But anyway, let's do this now. A couple things. If the frames had been in good shape, I would have just left them gold because I got the gold thing going on over there. But somebody at some point in the lifetime of this frame had dripped something on it. The drip was raised. It looked like paint drips. And sanding those off, well, actually first I used just Windex or whatever, but the gold leafing scrubbed off too. So as long as I needed to redo something on these, I went around and used a magic eraser. That's what I did, a magic eraser. And any little chips and divots and dents and imperfections in the surface area, not just visual, but smoothed them with a magic eraser so that I can have a nice clean surface with whatever I'm going to do. I think I'm going to frame them first and then touch up the frame once I figure out how I want to do it. So let's get started. And I don't know what I'm really going to have to talk about. So what I might end up doing with this particular video, if I can't think of anything to talk about, is time lapse and then maybe read some more of those, what are they called again? The Unexplained Mysteries, so that you have something to listen to. Because you've seen this framing type over and over and over again from me, I'm sure. So let me just get you set up so you can see what I'm doing, and we'll go from there. Okay, I think that's probably as good of a shot as I'm going to get. You don't even want to know what's involved in getting this angle. And for your viewing comfort, I've put on a bra. I'm still in my pajamas though, but I did put on a bra. Okay, let me climb down and get over there. Get this show on the road. Okay. Alrighty. We'll do one at a time here. As far as, well, no, we won't. We'll do them both. So, let's take apart our frames real quick. Alright, so continuing with the Unexplained Mysteries desk calendar that Rachel gave us. We're up to February 29th / March 1st, the Loch Ness Monster. The legend of the Loch Ness Monster started 1,500 years ago when Saint Columba, an Irish missionary, stated that he had encountered a beast in Loch Ness in the Highlands of Scotland. Since then, many sightings of the monster have surfaced, and they now average roughly 10 reports each year. The creature, affectionately named Nessie, is described as looking like a plesiosaur, a long-necked marine reptile that died out with the dinosaurs. In 2018, the First Minister of Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon, said that she believed in Nessie, and Scotland is doing research to try to find the truth. Scottish officials have even drawn up plans to protect the beast, partially done in jest. Past searches for the Loch Ness Monster have been fruitless despite numerous reported sightings, but Scottish Natural Heritage, the agency in charge of the most recent search, believes that new technology will help it finally find answers. All right, March 2nd, the Carol A. Deering. The Carol A. Deering was an American commercial vessel that was discovered off Cape Hatteras in North Carolina in 1921, with her crew nowhere to be found. On January 28th of that year, a light ship off Cape Lookout, North Carolina, reported communicating with the vessel, noting that the Carol's crew said the anchors were ripped off the ship in bad weather. The crew on the light ship noted that the crew of the Carol were standing around in an area of the ship where they would not normally congregate. On January 31st, a lookout at the U.S. Coast Guard station at Cape Hatteras discovered the ship had run aground, but rescue vessels couldn't approach the ship until a few days later, finding no crew aboard. It appeared the ship was abandoned intentionally, with lifeboats missing and the ship's log removed, but none of the crew were ever found. The case on the ship's incident was closed in 1922. March 3rd, Piri Reis map. Ottoman admiral and cartographer Piri Reis drew a magnificently accurate and mysterious world map in 1513. Found in 1929 in Istanbul, the Piri Reis map was created from over 20 source materials and shows North America just 21 years after Columbus's trip. How Piri Reis was able to include so many details onto the map is unknown, especially since many of the source materials have never been found, such as a map Reis says was made by Columbus. Historians have spent many years looking for this long-lost Columbus map to no avail. The Piri Reis map is not currently on display, but copies are included in Piri Reis's Book of Navigation. March 4th, the disappearance of Walter Collins. Oh, excuse me. When Christine Collins reported her son, 9-year-old Walter Collins, missing in March 1928, she could never imagine what would happen next. After 5 months of waiting and worrying, Los Angeles police brought a boy to Collins, telling the woman that he was her son, but Collins knew the boy wasn't her child. Although the boy had a passing resemblance to her lost son, Collins used dental records to prove that the boy was not, in fact, Walter. In response, the Los Angeles police told her that she was just being a bad mother and she should take the boy home and try him out. Eventually, when Christine Collins refused to drop her case, she was forcefully committed to the Los Angeles County General Hospital's psychiatric ward. Collins' real son was never found, but it is believed he was murdered by Gordon Stewart Northcott, who was convicted with the serial abduction of killing young boys known as the Wineville Chicken Coop murders. March 5th, the Codex Gigas. Gigas? I don't know. In the long history of literary mysteries, few are as interesting or strange as perhaps the biggest of them all. Let me read that sentence again. In the long history of literary mysteries, few are as interesting or strange as perhaps the biggest of them all. The Codex Gigas, literally meaning giant book, is a Christian text thought to have been written by a single Benedictine monk during the 13th century. With 620 hand-transcribed pages, each a full 3 feet tall, the Codex Gigas contains the New and Old Testaments, as well as various other texts that discuss topics such as exorcism, medical works, and even grammar. Legends surrounding the text say that the author sold his soul to Satan in order to complete his work, and modern historians believe that it may have taken as many as 30 years to finish the Codex in its entirety. Though much study has been done on the Codex Gigas, no evidence has been found to identify the monk who authored it, and many historians argue about its intended purpose. All right, March 6th, the Blood House of Atlanta. In 1987, the halls of a house in Atlanta were inexplicably found coated in human blood in the middle of the night, and no real explanation has been presented for its appearance. Initial testing found that the blood was entirely type O, whereas the house's 2 occupants, an elderly married couple named Minnie and William Winston, both had type A. Despite the grisly and strange event, police were not able to find any other evidence leading them to believe that no larger crime had been committed. Blood specialists who visited the scene did not believe the blood had come from a homicide, and though officials were concerned about the bizarre discovery, many believed that the blood might simply be part of a twisted hoax. March 7th and 8th, Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. On March 8th, 2014, Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, carrying 239 people, disappeared while flying to Beijing from Kuala Lumpur. Despite losing contact with air control only a single hour into its flight, no distress signals were ever received from Flight 370, and experts don't believe any weather-based circumstances would have brought the passenger plane down. Though multiple extensive searches, both governmentally and privately sponsored, have been conducted, the plane and its passengers have not been found. In July 2015, a few relatively small pieces of plane debris washed ashore on a small island east of Madagascar. To date, that is the only evidence recovered of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, and searches have largely been abandoned. March 9th, the Goira Girl. For several months in 1921, a family in Australia was targeted by what came to be named the Goira Girl, a supposedly supernatural force that shook and threw rocks at the family's house, breaking windows in what the local populace believed were attempts to harm Minnie Bowen, the family's 12-year-old daughter. After requests for help from the family, detectives from Sydney were sent to investigate what was happening, but a cause for the attacks has never been found, despite the fact that an entire squad of police officers were stationed around the house to protect the young girl. The event is regarded as one of Australia's most famous paranormal occurrences. The most popular supernatural theory is that the family was being attacked by the ghost of Minnie's half-sister, who had left behind an 18-month-old baby when she died. No plausible explanations have yet surfaced. All right, March 10th, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon are one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, but certain traces of the site have never been found. These ancient gardens were described in detail by many classical authors, and although the descriptions differ, most assert that the gardens were located near the royal palace of Babylon in what is now Iraq. One of the most popular theories is that they were built by King, Nebuchadnezzar II. I'm not saying that a second time because I butchered that name. Although alternate theories hold that the gardens were actually built by an Assyrian king and were located in Nevia, Iraq. The most conclusive proof of the ancient gardens was found by a German archaeologist who uncovered an unusual series of foundation chambers and vaults near the Palace of Babylon. Many believe that the gardens were rooftop gardens or were planted on a slope created to mimic a natural mountain range. Who designed the gardens or had them built is not known, leaving many questions unanswered. Got a frog in my throat. All right, March 11th. Spontaneous combustion. What causes people to suddenly burst into flames? While there is no scientific evidence of spontaneous human combustion, many people believe the phenomenon to be real, with quite a few accounts given since the 1800s, including a reference by Charles Dickens in his novel Bleak House. It has never been photographed or filmed, but reports, though rare, continue to surface. In cases of spontaneous human combustion, people are said to burst into flame without a source of ignition. Victims are always reported as dying from being burned, as if from the inside out. In some cases, external factors like cigarettes and fireplaces have been proved as the culprit, but many cases of supposed spontaneous combustion are unexplained. Whether this is a real phenomenon is still debated. March 12th, the Phantom Whistler. In 1950, a mysterious, unseen man doggedly trailed 18-year-old Jacqueline Cadeau around Paradise, Louisiana, whistling constantly from around corners and doorsteps as he did. It was believed that the whistler was trying to stop the marriage of Cadeau to a state trooper, Herbert Belsom. Supporting this belief was the fact that before her wedding, Cadeau received a threatening call from an unknown man saying that she would die before her wedding day. Despite the threat and Cadeau's survival, the whistler continued to follow Cadeau around as she went about her life. Her mother told reporters, "We can't get away from him. I don't know when we'll get a peaceful night's sleep." The sheriff announced that they had solved the case but never shared the whistler's identity, leading many to believe that the strange case was never actually closed or that it had been a hoax. March 13th, the burial site of Genghis Khan. In life, Genghis Khan was arguably the greatest conqueror the world had ever seen, at one point ruling as much of the land between the Pacific Ocean and the Caspian Sea. In death, however, his body has been lost to history. In 1227, after quelling a rebellion in the kingdom of Zaizia, Genghis Khan died, asking to be buried in secret. He was carried home by his army, who killed anyone they came across. After he was buried, the soldiers rode 1,000 horses over the grave to make it impossible to find. Mongolians have no interest in finding the grave and are dedicated to ensuring no one else does either. Some say this is out of respect for the great Khan, while others believe his resting place to be cursed. Luckily, Mongolia's vast, sparse landscape makes any hunt for Genghis Khan's tomb all but impossible. All right, March 14th and 15th, the disappearance of Michael Rockefeller. In November 1961, the 23-year-old son of New York Governor Nelson Rockefeller went missing in what was then Netherlands, New Guinea. Michael Rockefeller was 7 months into a filming adventure when his boat was overturned. Though his body was never recovered, witnesses say that he was last seen swimming to shore. Local authorities listed his official cause of death as drowning, but numerous theories abound about the young filmmaker's death. Some investigators believe he had been set up by sharks. Some investigators believe he may have been set upon by sharks as he swam, while others wonder if local cannibalistic Asmat headhunters might have found the young man after he survived his swim. Rockefeller's disappearance has been the focus of many different pieces of art, including a play and a novel. It has been featured on several Can't read. Rockefeller's disappearance has been the focus of many different pieces of art, including a play and a novel, and has been featured on several television programs. Despite rumors that the Rockefeller family funded a private investigation into Michael's disappearance, no conclusive evidence of his fate has been released to the public. March 16th, the Russian cosmonaut. On April 23rd, 1967, Vladimir Komarov was launched into space aboard... See, this just shows my ignorance that these things I'm sure people have heard of and I can't pronounce them. Soyuz the first, a spaceship that was known to be faulty. Once in space, its antennas didn't open correctly, and shortly after that, the power ceased working properly. Despite initial hopes of rescue, the launch of the ship intended to follow Komarov was canceled, and the chance of getting him back safely disappeared. Komarov told ground control he knew that he was going to die and talked on the phone with his wife about what to say to his children. Once the spaceship was back in the Earth's atmosphere, the parachutes failed to open, and Komarov fell to his death. Why he would have been sent into space in a craft that was known to be faulty is still questioned, though many historians believe that Russian officials pushed the launch through to coincide with the 50th anniversary of the Communist Revolution. March 17th, the Somerton Man. It was December 1st, 1948, when the body of an unknown man was found on Somerton Beach, Adelaide, Australia. He was well dressed, and all the tags had been cut out of his clothing. A secret pocket in his suit revealed a note with the words Taman Shud written on it, a phrase that appears at the end of the famous book of Persian poems. Following the discovery, a copy of this book was brought to local police by a businessman who said that it had been thrown in his car through an open window. The book had 5 lines of handwritten letters on the back cover and a phone number, which eventually led investigators to a nurse. When shown the man's body, she reacted strongly but insisted she did not know the man. To this day, historians still debate who the man could have been and what led him to his bizarre death. March 18th, the Great Boston Art Heist. On March 18th, 1990, 2 men dressed as police officers entered the Isabel Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston. They handcuffed 2 guards and then walked out with 13 famous pieces of art valued today at more than $500 million. Works stolen in this great art heist included pieces from artists Rembrandt, Vermeer, and Degas. The police and FBI have many theories as to who could have done it, from local mobs to international organizations. Despite some promising leads and the museum's promise of a $10 million reward for information leading to the return of the art, the case remains the largest unsolved heist in history, and the 13 works of art are still missing. March 19th, the Russian Crown Jewels. In a geological library in Reston, Virginia, a small team of historians discovered what may be the most costly disappearance in recent history. In 2012, Richard Huffin, the library's director, discovered an oversized book from 1922 detailing the contents and nature of the Romanov family fortune, which, when compared to a more modern account of the fortune, revealed that several pieces had gone missing. 4 pieces that were photographed in the 1922 book included a sapphire and diamond tiara, a sapphire bracelet, an emerald necklace, and a sapphire brooch in the shape of a bow. Researchers found that the brooch had been sold in London in 1927, but the fate of the other 3 pieces remains a mystery. All 4 are conspicuously absent from all modern indexes of the Romanov fortune, and no explanation has been forthcoming from caretakers of the estate. Many historians believe that the pieces may have been sold off or stolen during the World Wars. Nonetheless, the Romanov family and its descendants are even more covetous of their secrets than they are of their jewels, so the disappearances may well never be solved. March 20th, the death of Russell Evans. In 1989, 13-year-old Russell Evans died in Spokane, Washington. While police initially believed that he was killed in a hit-and-run accident, the boy's family disagreed, believing that he was killed by gang members. Supporting this story, private investigator Sandy Brewer says that she possesses an audio recording of someone admitting to the murder, but the police have not responded to her nor officially commented on the evidence. Additionally, the family believes that they have uncovered the car involved. Despite this information, the local police continue to state that they do not believe they have a case. March 22nd, the lost Roman emperor. The Roman Empire was perhaps one of the most glorious and meaningful civilizations throughout all of European history, carrying with it well-documented stories and customs, not to mention well-known emperors of legend. It was strange, then, when curators of the British Museum stumbled across a Roman coin bearing the image of an emperor entirely unknown to history books. In the 1930s, the museum acquired a coin from a Swedish dealer that depicted Silbanicus, a lost Roman emperor. Analysis of the coin deduced that it was of a type commonly used between 238 and 260 AD, which experts explain was a time of massive political upheaval and war. During these years, barbarian attacks and outright civil wars between rival generals threw Rome into chaos, and historical accounts of the time are muddled at best. As a result, historians believe Silbanicus may have been a rebel emperor who ruled only briefly and whose existence was lost to time in the chaos of the era. With very little further information has been found about Silbanicus, and archaeologists still search for an explanation about the lost emperor. I need to finish this month up pretty quick because I am tongue-tied. All right, here we go. March 23rd. The mystery of the people before the Clovis. For a long time, archaeologists believed that the Clovis people, known for their distinctive spearheads, were the oldest group of people to settle in North America, where they lived between 13,300 and 12,800 years ago. Recent studies, however, argue the Clovis people may have been predated by another mysterious group of people by some 700 years. The archaeological studies found that a separate group of humans may have lived in North and South America prior to the Clovis arrival. Little is known about this earlier group of humans, though researchers hope to unwrap the mysteries of their civilization and origins with future archaeological and genetic explorations. Okay, so I can see the scalloped edge of this on the cardboard. So I think what I'm going to do, I am just going to paint the edge of the cardboard black as well, just kind of camouflage that. So we move this back over yet again. And I have found that a lot of my paintings, because of the weight of everything, that they do over time begin to sag a little bit. So I've started using spray adhesive on everything to adhere it to the cardboard backing to try and keep it from sagging as it ages. And again, use that stuff outside. Do as I say, not as I do. My cardboard's a little bowed, so I'm going to put it on the hump side so that when it smushes against the glass, it'll level out rather than having a divot. But I can start by gluing my paintings to the cardboard and then just touch up a little black paint around the edge of that cardboard. Here, I want to cover my glass so I don't get spray all over it. The Krylon high-strength spray adhesive is the stuff with the spider webby kind of texture to it. This is not going to matter because nobody's going to see it versus something where, you know, you don't want it to show. So I'm just going to spray my cardboard, stick my painting down. Now, I actually found that, redo this here. You get my painting centered on my cardboard, And then I found that it works better if I just lift a corner, stick it down, and then lift the other corner and do the same, rather than trying to lay the whole thing down all at once. So let me just get this centered on here. I'm just going to eyeball it. Again, use this outside. Unless you have a death wish. There we go. Okay. Even after doing that, I still didn't get it centered. Creating a mess for myself here. Come on. Okay, that looks pretty good. Nope. Jeez. Try this again. Getting closer. Oh my God. There, I think that's it. Yep, got it, finally. All right. Could have even done that before I painted it. There we go. Turn that on my glass. There. All right, we'll try that again. See if we get a better result the second time around here. All right, let's get her centered. There we go. All right. Okay, that worked much better. Okay. Well, where to go with all this stuff? Okay. All right, now. Still clean, okay. Go. And I'll just give that a minute to completely dry so I don't get any sticky stuff on my frame. You can grab this other one. It's pretty clean. Actually, no, it's not. It's not clean enough. March 24th, the Yeti. The Yeti, which is Tibetan, the Yeti, which is Tibetan for little man-like animal, is believed to be a creature that is actually much larger than humans. Throughout the decades, many adventurers visiting the Tibetan mountains have claimed to have found evidence of the mythical beast, citing such proof as inhumanly large footprints, stray bits of hair and feces, and even the occasional tooth. Among this evidence are hair samples and the Yeti finger, which were examined and found to be from goats and a human, respectively. Most scientists believe that the Yeti is actually a Tibetan blue bear which walks on two legs, a sight that weary hikers may easily confuse for a Yeti. Despite this contradictory evidence, some people remain adamant that they have caught the Yeti in pictures and do not believe it to be a bear, insisting that the Yeti exists, stalking the snowy slopes. Okay, I'm going to check this one, see if I need to paint anything on that. Nope, that one looks good. No painting needed, so we can just fasten that one in. This one we gotta let it dry a little bit so I can paint the edge of the cardboard. So, I don't like using those pins, the pain in the butt. I've been just using painter's tape or duct tape. I find painter's tape sticks better to the cardboard. I don't know. The pile will come crashing down at some point. March 25th. A Panamanian serial killer. Chris Kremers and Lassen were visiting Panama from the Netherlands in 2014 when they disappeared while hiking. At first, it was believed that they had died after getting lost, but more recently it is thought that they were victims of foul play. New Yorker Catherine Jonette visited Panama in 2015 and was later found dead in a nearby area. Foul play was immediately thought to be involved in her death, All three victims were in their early 20s when they died and had similar appearances, so some theorize a serial killer was the culprit. Who killed these women or why is not known, but their families are still searching for answers. Let's see if this is fair enough. I think so. Alright, and let me double check that and see how much I actually have to paint. Very minimal, just all the way around all four sides. You could also do like washi tape around the edge or something like that. My personal preference has been just black on pretty much everything. There's been a few exceptions. March 26th, The Great Mull Air Mystery. On Christmas Eve, 1975, on the Isle of Mull, Scotland, businessman and veteran war pilot Norman Peter Gibbs decided to take a Cessna plane for a short flight during the dark of night. His girlfriend, Felicity Granger, stayed on the ground with powerful flashlights acting as a makeshift landing lights to guide him back when he landed. After hours of waiting, Gibbs had not returned and Granger called the police. A full search was made and neither man nor plane was found. In April 1976, 4 months after his disappearance, Gibbs' body was found by a local shepherd in a field that had previously been searched. Gibbs was fully dressed and had only a scratch on his leg, having died of exposure. One theory is that the plane crashed in the Sound of Mull and Gibbs swam to shore, though no evidence of salt water was found on his body. Although wreckage of a plane has been found in the sea, investigators have yet to confirm if it was indeed the Cessna Gibbs was flying. All right, we're getting there. Only got a few more. Brian just walked in from fishing, so let's see how much he interrupts. March 27th, The Author from the Great Beyond. Patience Worth was a prominent writer of many popular works in the early 1900s, made all the more impressive by the fact that she never really existed. Pearl Lenore Curran, a high school dropout from St. Louis, claimed that Patience Worth was actually a spirit she spoke to using a Ouija board, and who, using Curran as a vessel, wrote 7 novels as well as many poems, short stories, and plays. Curran traveled around the country with her husband, John, and her Ouija board. She would give readings from the board, and John would write down what was being said, though the phantom author theory seems unlikely. No other person has come forth claiming the works of Patience Worth as their own, and Pearl Curran herself had no formal education in literature or writing, making the incredible works even more unbelievable. March 28th, 29th, The Death of Brandon Lee. Brandon Lee, famous actor and martial artist Bruce Lee's son, died under mysterious circumstances on the set of the film The Crow in March of 1993. A small explosive charge called a squib was supposed... Let's try that one again. A small explosive charge called a squib was supposed to just make the sound of gunfire, but ended up shooting a projectile at Lee. Some people think that a conspiracy involving the Chinese mafia resulted in his death, but most believe that someone accidentally caused the prop to misfire. Whatever happened to Lee, it is clear that a mistake that serious should not have occurred on the set of a major motion picture. All right, last one, and we're wrapping this up. March 30th. The Salish Sea Human Foot Discoveries. Since 2007, 14 human feet have Since 2007, 14 human feet have washed upon the shores of the Salish Sea in British Columbia, most of them clad in athletic sneakers. Strangely, none of the feet have shown any signs of excess trauma, such as animal predation or rot, and they seem to have been removed from the body relatively cleanly. Despite the number of feet recovered, only one foot has ever been attributed to a corpse, after being traced to a Vancouver man who went missing in 1985. Though authorities have no official theory for the regular discoveries of feet in that specific area, they believe it could be connected to a drug cartel or even as yet undiscovered serial killer. Okay, how would you like it if you lived there and you kept having feet wash up? Bunch of odd shoes in your collection, huh? Oh, there's still one more. Sorry. 31 days in March. March 31st. Disappearance from a cruise ship. On March 21st, 1998, Amy Lynn Bradley went missing from a family cruise aboard Royal Caribbean's Rhapsody of the Seas. At that point in its voyage, the ship was traveling in international waters between Aruba and Curaçao, Netherlands, Antilles. Despite the high publicity of the case, very little is known about what happened to Bradley and whether or not foul play was involved. Though her body has never been found and little evidence exists, the case is still active with agents searching for answers. Because of this, the FBI offered a reward of $25,000 for information on her whereabouts or those responsible for the young woman's disappearance. Now we're done. Okay, there's 1 month of Unexplained Mysteries. We are up to April, and this is all from last year. Okay, back to whatever she's framing right now. All right, we're going to let this dry, and then I'll throw that one together and see if I can get them up on the wall. All right, we're almost done. Almost done. Paint's dry. Enough for me. Let's get this show on the road, because I want to be lazy for the rest of the day. All right, this one's finished. Let's get this one in. Works for me. Let's taper down. All right. Okay, I will put the hardware back on them after I figure out how I'm going to repaint so that I'm not scratching up my desk. But there's the somewhat 95% finished product, and we'll paint the frames in another one. All right. Sounds good. I don't know if it sounds good, but that's what I'm going to do. So we'll continue this one on another day, because I am spent. It's almost 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Today's my Sunday, even though it's Saturday, because I work on Sunday. So I want to just veg out for the rest of the day. Love you all. Hope you have a great week, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Well, you're still here. You survived that. Congratulations. I haven't watched it yet, so I don't know how it went, but I'm glad you made it to the end. We're hoping to do something new soon. We've got more pill bottles on the way. Thank you, Jackie. So maybe that'll come up in the not too distant future. But really, Wow, that mandala stuff, I ought to get working on that. Gotta get to that beaded cross stitch too. Okay. Alright, anyway. Time's a ticking. Let's get on to something else. See you guys in the next one. And love y'all. Bye!